What's good, everybody on YouTube? This is your boy Akil McLeod back with another video, and today we are going to be covering all the big changes happening within Buffalo Exchange. Now, if you guys follow the channel, you guys know that I'm a huge fan of Buffalo Exchange, and I've been going there for a very long time. Anytime I have inventory that's been sitting around for a while, especially clothing, not so much shoes, but specifically clothing. If it's been sitting for say 2 or 3 months and I'm kind of over it and I don't necessarily feel like selling it, I usually would take it to Buffalo Exchange and trade and get some trade credit, and then usually use that trade credit for something that sells for some more money. So for me, this experience is definitely my last experience in Buffalo Exchange has definitely been very, very different. So I'm just going to cover some of the changes that's going within Buffalo Exchange. And as usual, I'm going to answer some of the questions that you guys may have. So if you have any good questions, definitely pop those in the chat and I'll get to them as fast as possible. But first off, I just want to cover all the changes that's going within Buffalo Exchange. As a matter of fact, let's start with the one item that I actually did pick up the last time I went out there. So first things first, when I went out there, I came across this pair of Li-Nings. Now, Li-Ning is definitely not a shoe brand that I'm familiar with. It's not a brand that I usually pick up. I usually don't even see it because it's a Chinese-based company, so we usually don't find them in the thrift stores and places like that. So this pair in particular is called the Li-Ning Titans, and I believe this was also a collaboration with Kith. And when I seen these shoes, I instantly was like, yo, these shoes are crazy. Like, there's so much details, there's so much stuff going on with it. As you can see, they even have like a lace in the back, and the price was only $40. So for me, I was like, $40. Let me check the comps and see how much they're going for. And brand new, I seen people have these listed for $250, $300. When I seen some of the sales, they were closer to that, like $150 to $200 mark. So I figured if we use, I'll clean these up and I'll easily get, maybe 100, maybe 120. Because once I clean these up, these will look really, really good. So like I said, let me show you guys both these shoes. Probably keep them up here because these are definitely not your everyday pair of sneakers that you would just come across on a daily basis. These are crazy. So, and of course, the whole chunky dad shoe vibe. This was definitely like fulfilling that niche of people that really do love the dad shoe vibe. So I went ahead and I grabbed those up. But one thing that I didn't do this time around is that I didn't think about bringing some clothes to sell, because I checked up on the website prior to, and we'll dive into that in a minute. But I checked the website first, and they changed their entire policy. And one thing for me, what I used to love about going to places like Buffalo Exchange and Crossroads or Plato's, is that you would bring in a bag of clothes or a couple items that you want to sell or trade, and they would just do it right in front of you. They'd tell you how much they could give you right away. And to me, that was super easy. It was a way to kind of get rid of stale inventory, kind of declutter. And this time around, I didn't bring anything. I just wanted to go in there and see if I can find anything, find any deals. Because as soon as they opened, I said, let me go ahead and check it out. So let's dive into some of the changes that they're going to be doing from here on out. And I didn't check Buffalo. I didn't check Plato's and Crossroads, but we will see if they also do some of these same things. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And this is my first time sharing the screen, so this is going to be something different for the channel. So let's jump in. And this is Buffalo Exchange main website. And they're saying that they're open. They're not open everywhere. Of course, in New York and LA, they're still going to be closed. But they have some new rules. So let's just go through them really quickly. A new shopping experience. Masks required for customers and employees. And the funny thing is with the masks, I usually don't wear the mask when I'm out and about. So I didn't have one, and they ended up giving me a bandana. And I think I threw that bandana out, but they just give you a bandana if you don't already have a face covering in the store. And I thought that was cool. I figured that was a way for them to kind of keep people in there, because if you walked in and you didn't have a face mask and they didn't provide any for you, you would just have to leave and they would lose out on business. So I'm sure that was a good little touch. Next up, they have reduced hours, 12 to 6. They were usually open, I think, from like 10 to 8. So that's a nice little change. Limited number of shoppers. When I went in there, I didn't really see, it was like maybe 5 or 6 people. So I don't know if they were actually trying to enforce it or if people just wasn't really in there worrying about shopping. So that's kind of a toss up. This is another interesting thing. It says contactless payment options available for shoppers. And of course, I think this is something else I'm going to probably do another video about. I think when it comes to cash and in stores, period, whether you're in a grocery store, whether you're in a clothing store, I think cash is going to become very obsolete. I don't think people are going to be carrying cash as often as they used to, especially since, everybody's on more aware of just trying to be clean and trying to be, sanitize everything. So as we all know, cash is probably one of the dirtiest things we can own. And I think it's just going to be way less cash being spread around. So that's just my opinion. Drop a comment if you guys agree or disagree. Next up, they have dressing room closure and a return policy extension. Now, when I went, of course, the dressing rooms were closed. Usually, anytime I would go, sometimes if I was getting something for myself, of course, I would try it on really quickly. But of course, dressing rooms being closed. We're also seeing that at places like Ross and Marshalls. They're closing the dressing rooms. And I'm not sure how long that's going to last. I don't know how effective that's going to be, but we'll see in the long run how good that's going to last. Next is social distancing in the store. No one was really regulating that. I didn't really see anybody walking around making sure people were 6 feet apart. So I'm not even going to talk too much about that. I didn't really see too much of that. And of course, regular sanitation, which shouldn't be a new shopping experience. They should have already been keeping that store clean and sanitized. But here's some of the biggest changes, and I think this is going to affect, I know it's going to affect my business to a certain degree because I used to use Buffalo Exchange not only as a place to source, but like I said, I would use it as a place to get rid of stale inventory. So when it comes to selling, I'll just read it. It says, sell your closet clean out conveniently and contact free. Appointment required for selling, drop off only, call to make an appointment. So basically the old system of just bringing a big bag of stuff or a suitcase and just having them sort through your stuff right in front of you, those days are over. I think now they're just going to be doing drop-offs. And of course, like they said, you have to make an appointment and you're going to have to call ahead. That way you won't have to wait or anything like that. Next, they're saying, please limit your clean out to 50 items and allow them to sit for 24 hours untouched before dropping them off. Now, when it comes to that, I don't know how much people are actually going to be doing that, saying let them sit for 24 hours. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I don't know how, what's the big deal with having the clothes sit. But at the end of the day, if it's a dirty bag of clothes, it's a dirty bag of clothes. I don't see the difference if it's going to sit for a length of time or not, but we will see. Next up, it says items will sit for another 24 hours untouched before being looked through. Your items may take up to 3 days to process. Now, for me, this is huge because, like I said, I would go to the store. Maybe if I say I would just left the outlet and I just wanted to pop in really quickly, but I had a couple items in my trunk, I would just go ahead and utilize that quick selling process and try to get some trade in. With this process, it's going to take 3 days. So I don't know how long people, it might be a mindset change. It might be a big adjustment for other sellers like myself that's used to just going in and just handling business right away. But for me, I don't think I'm going to be going to Buffalo Exchange as often as I was with the same mindset of thinking, okay, let me try to get rid of some stale inventory, because 3 days for it to process, for me, I think that's a little too long. Drop a comment if you agree. But for me personally, I don't think I'm going to be using Buffalo Exchange as often as I used to, mainly because of that new rule. Next up, they have no on-the-spot selling or cash payments. Just like I was saying before, when it comes to the cash, I think that's going to be a thing of the past. Choose contactless payment payout options through PayPal, Venmo, or a digital trade card. I actually just use my trade card. Anytime I'm in Buffalo Exchange, I usually have at least $100 or maybe $50 on one of those trade cards that they give you. And sometimes I'll trade in a few items. If I don't see anything in the store, I'll just wait until my next visit. And then I usually do come across something good. So I didn't even pull out my credit card. So I think that was pretty dope. As always, remember to bring your ID when you drop off your clothing. At this time, any items we're unable to purchase will be donated. So that's another really, really big thing that I think is going to be a problem. Sometimes I might bring something to them and, they might not be into it and I'll just take it back. Now with this new system, with the dropping off and taking 3 days to process the order, a lot of people, unless you keep like on track of exactly what you brought in, you might not even remember all the items that you brought in. And the fact that they'll be donating your items right afterwards, for me, that's a really, really big problem, because now I'm not even going to be getting my items back. And, it's just going to be a lot of questions. So let me go back to this chat. see who we have in here. Vonzella Riggs, good evening to you as well. But yes, one thing I think what it is, what's gonna happen with Buffalo Exchange. Hopefully, this isn't gonna last long. Hopefully, this isn't gonna be their main way of trying to do their part when it comes to this pandemic. I think one thing a lot of businesses are doing that's kind of counterproductive is that they're saying they're doing their part, but they're also making things a lot tougher for customers, consumers. They're just making things a lot difficult. So that's one thing I'm definitely, a little nervous about because we're not really sure how long this is going to last, and they might eventually completely just adopting this way of business, the whole drop off your things for a few days. That might be a thing that might always happen now. So like I was telling you guys before, when it comes to reselling, we're all going to have to adapt and adjust and, pivot along the way. Just like in any other form of business, you're going to have to adapt and evolve in order to grow. And I think this is going to be one of those situations. For me, the big pivot is going to be, I might start buying more things from Buffalo Exchange, or who knows, because of this process, other people might have similar feelings towards it as well, and they might actually not even go and shop at Buffalo Exchange. So it might not even be, it might be the end of Buffalo Exchange for all we know it. Who knows? If this continues, this might be the end, because there's tons of other businesses out there that was doing really well before the pandemic hit, and now a lot of them had closed down. A lot of businesses have adapted and made some pivots, and they're doing better than ever. Perfect example, Amazon was doing way better than they were 2 months ago. So all of those things are stuff that I'm keeping in mind. I know for a lot of people, some people might not even care about Buffalo Exchange. You might not even have one in your area. But for me, I just wanted to give you guys a quick rundown, just update you guys with what's really going on, and just something to consider when, stores start to open back up in your area. Because for me, Arizona, for the most part, I think the whole state is pretty much up and running back to normal. We're still seeing people wearing masks and stuff like that. Social distancing is still a thing, but it is one of those things where I'm just glad Arizona was kind of ahead of the curve, because if it wasn't, business for me would have been really, really slow. Because I told you guys in a previous video, before, when we were living in California, I was really just thrifting. I did do some outlet shopping here or there, but for the most part, I was really just thrifting. So, with Goodwill being closed and all those other thrifts in California being closed, and with Goodwill still, and with California still being on lockdown, who knows how my business would have been doing. I might have adapted and made some pivots along the way, or I might have been struggling and stressed out and trying to figure out a whole new business model. Who knows? But I'm just glad I'm in Arizona. Let's see who's in the chat. Sad but true, absolutely. Next up, we got Sean. He's saying, even as a buyer, it is going to hurt their business. It's definitely going to be trial and error. They may switch to a thread up model. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. I really do think they might go ahead and switch to a thread up based kind of model, because I think that might make more sense in the long term. But just when it comes to the overall customer experience, you know what I mean? It's going to be different. I know I hardly ever would just go to Buffalo Exchange without items to trade, because I knew that if I did find something that was worth some decent money, or even something for myself, I wouldn't want to buy it. I would rather trade for it. So that's going to be a huge adjustment, but I really do hope they do switch it up a little bit, because I just don't see this. Their buying model lasting long and having some longevity and really working. But we'll see. Drop a comment if you guys agree, if you disagree. Also, I'm going to start doing more of these live shows on a weekly basis. So if you guys are here now, I'm going to stick with Thursday at 6:00, and I'll do some trial and error. I'll see if that time frame works for you guys. If not, drop a comment, let me know. I don't want to just pop up and do lives. I kind of want to schedule them weekly. That way you guys can kind of set your alarms and look forward to just engaging and getting your questions answered. And I think that might be more fun for me and just kind of keep me on track. But since I'm not seeing any questions, definitely just want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you didn't already, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.